For joining us and giving us your time. Let's start with those questions from our viewers. First one was previously white universities continue to charge on, very productive, and the formerly black universities just aren't getting up to the same standards. Why the disparity, and what are you doing about it?
Of course, Peter, thanks for the question. The disparities are historical, but government since 1994 has actually quite embarked on a number of initiatives to try and deal with these disparities. On our side, as the new Department of Higher Education and Training, what we've actually prioritized now, amongst other things, is that the money we have for infrastructure for universities, we're going to be spending much more on what are normally called your historically disadvantaged institutions, much more significantly than we have ever done before, precisely in order to begin to bridge this gap.
What are you going to do there?
It's physical infrastructure to begin with, which would include accommodation, which is a big challenge because these universities, by the way, in the main also are in rural areas. But also we want to make sure that we put money on ICT, because we are concerned that indeed if you go to WITS, you register as a student, you have an email address, but if you go to University of Limpopo, that's not the case. That's inexplicable. We just want to deal with that, and we believe that it can be dealt with. And also, in addition to that, we want to focus on quality of education, because that is the issue also that is a challenge with these universities, because historically they were not meant to give very high quality education. Some of us who studied there, even today, we still feel like we must go and ask for change, from some of these institutions. But now at least we have an opportunity to actually to change the situation. Quality is very important. We are also going to be setting aside bursaries for lecturers in these universities so that they can improve their own qualifications, because you will find that if you compare your former white universities to your former black universities, just with the number of PhDs, the situation is still very unequal. So these are some of the areas that we want to give attention to. So it's a matter that we are acutely aware of.
Another viewer says, why is training not being taken seriously? You talked about it quite length in your speech. Why do you think it's not being taken seriously?
Well, maybe there are a number of reasons for that, Peter. Since Tamika Plaji has provoked me, I will do what he expects, you see, in relation to this matter. I think, first of all, one thing that we've got to accept as a country is that South African employers for decades have been spoiled for cheap labor. The training that was given in the past was only for white artisans and white professionals. And employers only knew, insofar as the majority of the people they could get away with cheap labor. We have a problem now. Unless employers stand up, we have a problem. Because those white artisans that were trained under apartheid are aging now. We need to be training black artisans in big numbers. That is why, as government, we are doing what we are doing. Firstly, to create our department. The president was aiming to say we need to combine the whole pipeline, education into the workplace, including training, so that we address this particular problem. So we need to build a new partnership between employers, educational institutions, communities, and the trade union movement. A partnership to revitalize training. For example, let me give you one thing on the necessity for this partnership, if we are to revitalize training, is the one we are talking about in the Skills Accord. That, for instance, workplaces must open up for learnerships and apprenticeships. And there are immediate targets which I think are realizable if we are committed to working together. For example, to say, no FET college graduate who wants to be an artisan must not be able to get an apprenticeship. And we are not talking millions. We're talking thousands which we think can actually be absorbed by our workplaces, both public and private. So that is the problem that we've had in the past. And I want to say that to South African employers in particular, if you don't come in, we don't have a future. And we have to think beyond our annual profit statements and think in the medium to longer term. At least I am pleased that some of the employers are responding positively. Firstly, the state-owned enterprises, we are very pleased that some of them are responding positively. But a few of the private enterprises, and by the way, we're not only talking about big companies. Small and medium enterprises also have got a very important role to play in opening their small entities for placement and training. Also, they will have an advantage, therefore, of choosing from amongst potential workers who they themselves have actually trained in terms of their own needs.
All right, we'll continue to explore that question and other issues. We're going to take a quick break.